This is the final day I can remain here. I should have left long ago. No one is prevented from leaving. Anyone is free to leave. But they can't take any supplies, so really we are all stuck here together. It makes sense. We wouldn't have enough left over for those that remain if people started leaving and took things with them. The couple that owned this place, Don and Helen, are already dead. No one's really in charge anymore, and we aren't achieving anything by staying here other than barely staying alive. Don and Helen made the rules, and even though they are gone, their rules are still what we all live by. I wouldn't call anyone here my friend. These people are just survivors, looking out for themselves and holding on to some hope that things will change. Things won't change. I think it feels hard to leave this place, mostly because of the years that I've stayed here. I remember how grateful and lucky I felt when Helen convinced Don to let me in. I did anything I could to help them from that moment on, and we saved so many more people. But what safe haven this place had first been has now become a trap. Surrounded by deadly woods on one side, and a full week's walk to the next house on the other. The woods are the only way to leave, but the danger is real. We can't see it, but we hear the noises, the inexplicable sounds that unnaturally stop in an instant, followed by dead silence. The only way to leave and have a real chance at surviving is to break the rules. The same rules that kept us all alive all this time. Sorry, Helen, but this is as far as we go on your terms. I already packed the gun, the ammunition, the only medkit, and half of the clean water from the water recycling system earlier today. There won't be enough water left for the rest, but they'll have to work out how to deal with that themselves. In different circumstances we could have all left together, but there is too much bad blood between us over things that have happened and the difficult choices that we've all endured, and at the first opportunity, things will go bad between everyone here. Looking over at everyone in the large damp basement that we've been living in, I feel a sense of disappointment. Is this really what we are surviving for? This sad, sickly group of people, unable to go outside, unable to enjoy anything, always on edge. Everyone is always tired, deathly tired. I think I'd be doing them a favor. The basement door just opened, and Phil comes back from his watch. No one pays him any attention, of course, and I'm sure he wasn't even watching anything. But this is my chance. Everyone is down here together now. So I get up and walk up the basement stairs. At the top of the stairs, I look down at everyone for one last time. And with mixed feelings, I reach into my pocket for Helen's key. No one knows that the basement locks, but it does. And with my heart beating, I slam the basement door shut and lock it. A wave of guilt and adrenaline comes over me, standing there in frozen realization that I can't undo what I've just done. I hear the first of the shouts, the protests, then an uproar of cries and anger. But there was no other way, I tried to convince myself, and I grabbed the pack that I stashed away and made to the front door, and stepped outside. Even from outside I could hear the screams, some pleading, some violent. I felt sick. My stomach churned and my hands were shaking. What am I doing? Paused, thoughts were flying through my mind 1,000,000 miles an hour. Maybe I can leave them the key, but then they'll open the door and it'll all be over for me. How can I buy myself time? Even if they open the door, most of them won't be able to survive anyway. There's only enough water left for 5 people. So unless they catch me and take this water back, they will end up having to choose who dies, or will they all die? Either way, the cannibalism to survive would continue in the vicious cycle that we've all endured. In that moment, an image of Helen's cruel smile came to me, as she so often displayed when she made her heartless commands. We have done so much worse than this. The blood on our hands to get to this point makes this pale in comparison. Strength came back to me and my resolve hardened. I walked away from the house of atrocities in this cruel world and made my way to the woods, to the future, my future. As the noises behind me faded into nothing, my focus shifted entirely on what was before me, the woods. It was full daylight, yet they seemed impossibly dark, the eerie silence making it so uninviting that I felt the urge to turn and run. I had never been so close to the woods. As I got closer to them, I realized that my breathing was heavy. I was hyperventilating. I closed my eyes for a moment, closed my mouth, and grounded myself, forcing my breath to slow. And in that moment, I heard something straight ahead of me, a rustling of leaves, short and sharp, then silence. I froze. My breathing stopped. I strained so hard to listen and hoped that the sound that I heard was nothing. For what seemed to be an eternity, I stood perfectly still, too scared to open my eyes. I heard nothing further. I gasped for air and opened my eyes, frantically searching and expecting the worst. Yet there was nothing. Still, I was too shaken to move forward. I walked alongside the woods instead of heading into them, and then after a good hour I stopped and faced them once more and stepped towards them. All feeling of any breeze of the wind was completely gone. The air was cold, damp, and it wrapped itself around me. The smell of trees was refreshing in comparison to the disgusting stench of the basement that we had endured. With a sense of purpose, I made my way forward with haste. Quickly losing any sense of direction I had with the limited sunlight, I made the best of a straight line, weaving between jagged branches that scratched and poked at me. For what seemed to be hours I walked, the scenery never changing. The only sound of my footsteps and panting could be heard. But I had to rest. The adrenaline from my panic had now subsided, and the harsh reality of my situation now becoming more apparent to my senses. I realized my left heel had developed a painful blister, which was now tender to the touch, and my hands both had deep cuts from constantly pushing branches out of the way, without enough care for how I was handling them. I used what I could from the medkit and took a long drink of the precious water I had. I looked at the gun in the open pack and wondered about it. It was an unwieldy thing, a bolt-action rifle as long as my leg. I knew it would only slow me down, but took it out anyway for comfort as I sat at the base of the tree. I wanted to rest, to sleep for a bit, but my thoughts wouldn't allow it. They raced manically and made me feel sick. So I sat, hoping that a few moments more of rest would somehow make the blister on my foot more manageable to walk on. Huddling my knees up to my chest to keep warm, I looked around and made a mental note of the direction I came from before I forgot. Looking ahead, I saw no clues about what lay beyond the next minute or so of walking. Faintly, some distance behind me, I heard a rustle. That same rustle when I approached the woods. My head instinctively cocked, I listened. Gripping the rifle tightly, I sat dead still, making myself as small as I could next to the tree. Then, without any warning, without any noise, a figure emerged only 5 paces to my left. I saw it from the corner of my eye, but did not turn my head to look. The figure moving forward came fully into my field of view. It moved silently and steadily, with what appeared to be some sort of draped cloak covering its hunched, massive figure. It slowed and then stopped, turning its head left away from me and pausing, almost as if it was searching. Then the head turned right, and I saw its face. My heart skipped a beat and every muscle in my body tightened. I had seen that face before. That same ashen skin with tiny wisps of vapor entrails licking upwards, and 4 piercing bright orange eyes. This was the worst situation possible. These are the creatures that had decimated the human race. This one was different though. None others looked like this, with a cloak wrapped over them, hunched over. They all stood tall. This made no sense. But there was no time for it to make sense. My teeth clenched so hard they might shatter. I fought against every shake and tremble that my body wanted. Then its head turned directly towards me. Its eyes locked onto mine, and its face split open, revealing a deep nothingness. In an instant, it was in front of me, grotesque tendrils moving towards me. That was the last thing I saw. I felt searing pain as though hot irons were poking at my eyes. I screamed, writhing in pain and thrashing my arms in front of me, until overwhelmed, I passed out. Everything went black. I never truly came to understand what happened. My eyes were gone, but that was all. I sat for days in the same spot, blind, helpless, and never more afraid of this cruel world. When I slept, I dreamt only of that nightmarish face, the abyss within it and those piercing orange eyes. Over and over, I dreamt of the creature until it became an obsession. I convinced myself that there was some meaning to this. Wandering aimlessly in the woods, I called out to it, begged for it to come to me, to save me, to help me. I had not eaten or taken any drink, yet I was not thirsty or hungry. I strained to hear at every moment that same rustle that I heard, to find some clue of where I should go. But I found nothing. Endlessly I wander, endlessly and in vain.